Sahana ji, you also briefly mentioned about the Western and European management of sanitation. Now, what can you tell us about the waste management in, say, Europe and America, and how did it evolve over the years? And did they also have open defecation, or say even manual scavenging for that matter?
Yes, all countries had open defecation in the beginning. Europe also had it, and then they moved to toilets. Okay, so but the interesting thing is that as late as the 20th century in Europe, the human excrement had to be removed physically. It had to be removed from the cesspits and the privies in Europe. So the people had to remove it, and the toilet waste from the houses used to be collected in the cesspits, and the European lower caste people, who did the dirty job of collecting it, they were called Gong farmers in French, or Gong farmers in English. And they were allowed to only work at night. So in the dead of the night, they had to go into respectable neighborhoods and collect all that excrement. They would have carts with them, and they would put it in the carts, and they would cart it away to the outside the city limits. They were not allowed to live in the main part of the city. And in fact, there were penalties, there were fines if they were seen during the daytime. These lower caste gong farmers in Europe who were tasked with removing the excrement. Right. So this is how they were called also night soil people. So they were, because they were only seen during night. Now, for some reason, the impression has been created that only in India we have a lower caste that does all the dirty work. But in reality, all over the world, people who engaged in occupations like removing the waste or garbage, they always belong to the lowest rungs of society, and they were kind of ostracized, and they were not given the same respect by the elites. Obviously, no one would like to do this work by choice. Only when modern technologies came on the scene, technologies to inspect sewers, clean manholes, all the gear that people wear, if they have to get into manholes, the protective gear, and then the oxygen masks. Only when all that came, then a degree of respectability was given to people who did the job. So that's how it evolved in Europe. And I'm sure that's how it will evolve in India too. So since you asked me about Europe, I must also mention the utter ignorance that that existed about this transmission of disease in Europe until very recent times. So they believed in the miasma theory. The miasma theory today is obsolete. The miasma theory believes that disease is caused by smell. Okay, so according to this miasma theory, if there is bad smell in your house, then that is causing the disease, nothing else. So when the toilet was introduced, the flush toilet, the water closet, and then when they flushed it, all the solids would go into the Thames River. They thought that's a very good thing, because now we are banishing the smells from our house. Okay, and so so people were very happy that according to the miasma theory, we are going to be disease free because we are sending all our waste to the Thames River. So the more the waste that was dumped into the Thames River, the more they felt safer. This has been documented in their newspapers and everything. So London's sewer commissioner, he proudly recorded that a huge volume of human waste has now been emptied into the Thames River from the city's toilets, and they're also giving the numbers, how many tons they have deposited. Now, when cholera struck London, there were many cholera outbreaks in London. They did not make the connection between what they were doing with the toilet waste, how they were sending it to the river. They didn't connect that with the cholera outbreak. So in fact, the sale of the flush toilets went up. When cholera broke out, the sale of flush toilets went up. More and more people installed, and they said that, oh, because we are not removing the smell from our houses, that's why cholera is breaking out. So can you imagine that even in the 19th century, they had not understood the fact that fecal matter coming into contact with drinking water or food can cause cholera or other serious diseases. So compare that with 5,000 years before in India, where the Shastras forbade any kind of pollution of water bodies with the excreta, urine, and other things. So even in India, cholera was not really in an epidemic form until the British came. Cholera was known as a disease, but only after the British began to control India, that is when cholera outbreaks started in India.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.